Good morning. Early morning for me. How are you guys doing? Um, I'm excited to be back on here. I'm coming back, y'all. I'm coming back, y'all. I'm Angela Hester. I'm with Priceless Empowerment. Let me tell y'all. Let me tell y'all. When it comes to this journey of navigating those choppy waters, of not being so overextended, okay, it's a journey. It is a journey. So let me tell you guys something. It's super early. I had something that came on my spirit. It actually was on yesterday when I was meditating. Y'all forgive me. I got my hat on. It came upon me on yesterday, and I'm always I don't know. I'm always trying to hold off, and my spirit was like, I'm gonna need you to get this out. Put out what I put on you, and so that is what I'm doing this early morning. Even if it is for just the one, welcome back to my channel. So I was meditating on yesterday. And honestly, even prior to yesterday, I had listened to, I want to say, it's by Naomi Rain. I don't know if it's Total Surrender, if it's Another Surrender, but I love the song. It was featured on Woman Evolve, maybe from last year. But I heard it, and I heard it before, but for some reason recently, as I was hearing it, it was really speaking to me. And in the last video that I did, and I can try to repost it, but the last video that I had did regarding the flickering light, and I talked about how it's easy for us to go back to our default settings and not necessarily realize it, right? Because we're putting off the opportunity to really self-assess why we are overextended, why we are heavy, why we are depleted, because in putting that off, right, and putting off changing that light bulb, we hear from God less and less. When we're cluttered, when we're overextended, when we're people pleasing, and we're not really taking a step back or taking a beat to slow it down, right? So, listening to her and listening to the song really spoke to me regarding surrender again, surrendering again, right? And I was thinking about when I spoke to you guys about that default setting, right? And surrendering our default setting to our default setting again, or surrendering our default setting again, excuse me, right? That default setting of overgiving, overextending, people pleasing, overcommitting, right? And really just draining ourselves to the point to where we don't even realize if we're still on our God destined journey, or the journey that is ordained for our lives, or our journey that is of the will of God and not of the will of us, right? So I was thinking about surrendering again, and surrendering to that default setting. And it does take work, right? It takes work because that means that you have to put in the work. And who likes to do extra work? Not me. But we have to, if we want to not be depleted and not be heavy and really be attuned to what the Spirit is telling us, the direction that the Spirit is telling us to go in, right, for our lives. But anywho, in meditating yesterday, going back to yesterday, I feel like I'm all over the place. And y'all know my motto. I'm not editing. So just stick with me. Well, as Sarah Jakes would say, stick with me. I'm going to bless you. So while meditating, I was going through a former journal, excuse me. It's early, y'all. I feel like I'm jumbling my words. I got my coffee and everything, but I'm still jumbling. So I was going through a former journal or journal that I used to write in before, and I was just kind of flipping through, just kind of, I don't know, something just led me to flip through. And there was something that has stuck out to me, that I had wrote down while listening to a sermon early last year. And it said, and I wrote down, without an anchor, you will drift back into your default settings, right? And I was like, wow, I think that's pretty incredible here, because when we are overextended, when we do overcommit, when we are trying to please everybody else, trying to do everything, trying to be all things to everyone else except for what the Spirit of the Lord is telling us to be all things for, we just find ourselves heavy, drained, depleted, and not knowing what direction to continue to go in, and or how to get ourselves, how to pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off once we have fallen back into that pit of heaviness and drain, right, and burnout and things like that. But what happens though if we can find ourselves creating an anchor for ourselves? Created an anchor where we can really tap in and find out what the heck is going on for us. And it's going to be different for different people, right? But that stood out to me. Another thing too that stood out to me, and I'm taking this right from my journal, is it says, God needs me to trust him while he teaches me. I can't fight and learn to trust God at the same time. I can't fight and learn to trust God at the same time. And I thought that was so powerful, because when we're out here and we're giving and sometimes we love what we're doing, right? But when you're giving and you're overextended and you're overcommitted, right? Then how can you hear God? Are you trusting God? Or are you just leaning on your ability to keep giving and giving and giving until you find out that you've met your end, right? Whereas God has no end, but we have an end, which is why we be tired. And overextended and drained and burnt out, right? So going back to surrendering again, I want to do that with you, with my double D game, right? I would love to do that where we're able to surrender again for 4 days starting tomorrow, where we surrender again. We surrender that burnout. We surrender that heaviness. We surrender that depletion to the Lord, where we're able to take some time out and identify what's going on with our thoughts, with our feelings, and why we're continuing to just give, or overextend or overcommit or push, right? To the point to where we are so heavy and we are burnt out. I want us to take a few days, 4 days, to say, who is you to do that? I'm someone who is in the helping profession, and it's interesting because I love what I do, right? And sometimes I do find myself going and giving and pushing. And then I realize, ooh, maybe God didn't want me to push here, right? Or go here or do this. But sometimes it really take some time to really slow down and recognize your default setting so that you're not, done and tired and drained, right? And over it. And you know what I mean? So I want to take the next 4 days. I didn't mean for the video to go so long, but I want to take the next 4 days where we're able to really surrender again. It can be a baby surrender. It can be a small surrender. But to surrender again is something that we can do, that we can try, right? The more you do something, the more you're able to rewire your brain regarding that function, regarding that action, right? And just as we can wire our brains to go, 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 and people please and push, 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 and overcommit, it's the same way that we can rewire our brain to slow it down, to really tap into what our spirit is saying, what the Holy Spirit is putting on the inside of us, our discernment, right? But if we're not slowing down, if we're not recognizing why we're so tired, then we're going to continue to get back to that default setting of weariness, of tiredness, of being drained, of being burnt out. So slowing it down a little bit to where we can say, today I am going to surrender again. Now, what that surrender is going to be individualized and specific to your own situation. But when I come back, I will talk a little bit from a therapeutic perspective on how our thoughts and our feelings can impact our behaviors and our actions, right? And it's important to understand that because it helps you to identify when you are going down that path to drain and depletion, because it can become a reoccurring cycle, right? If you don't do something about it, if you don't put that maintenance in place for yourself so that you're able to sustain and stay the course. So if you're with me, come on back on here tomorrow and we are going to tap into surrendering again, even if it's a baby surrender, because we can't continue to be so tired and drained and probably cranky and telling folks off. But listen, I thank you so much for being here. And if you're on here and you are not doing well, I pray that you are on your way to doing well, because guess what? Our God is such an amazing God. He is such an amazing God who can do some absolute amazing things. I thank y'all so much. Y'all take care. Have an amazing day. Bye.